Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Hello, American families. Welcome back to this week's episode of The Home Defense Show. I'm your host, Skip Coryell. And if you love your family, care about them deeply, and want to learn how to protect them in every facet of your life, then you've come to the right place. We have a great show for you today, and I know that you're going to love it. But first off, remember last week we had a special producer. Her name was Amethyst Coryell. This week, we have another special producer. His name is Phoenix Coryell. Phoenix Coryell, welcome to the Home Defense Show.
Thank you.
Phoenix, it's so nice of you to be with us today. I know you're a great fan of the show, and you listen to it every single week, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so tell me, what do you like about the Home Defense Show?
I don't know.
Well, you listen to it every week. You must like something about it. Do you like just hearing your voice?
I guess it just fascinates me.
It fascinates you. Oh my. Well, you know, it fascinates me too, and as well as a lot of our listeners. So I like learning about how to protect my family. Is that what you like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You and Mommy and Cedar and Amethyst were getting ready to go on a trip this week, but you have postponed your trip to Kansas, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
So we rescheduled that. What are we going to do now instead of go to Kansas?
We're gonna spend 2 nights in a hotel and then stay in my mom's mom and dad's house.
That's right. And where does your grandma and grandpa live?
In Oregon.
Oregon. That's a whole new state, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so instead of going to Kansas for a week, we're going to go to Oregon for like 2.5 weeks. And this time, Daddy gets to come with you. And I like that much, much better. Do you like that too?
Uh-huh.
All right. Okay, well, when we go to Oregon, it's a 37-hour drive, so we'll have plenty of time to listen to the Home Defense Show while we drive out there. Okay?
Okay.
All right, son. Well, I need to move on with the news now. Thank you for helping me out with the Home Defense Show, and we will have you on the show again. Any last words for the people?
Always use guns safely and wisely.
And that's what you do, isn't it, Phoenix?
Mm-hmm.
All right. He's a good kid. All right, Phoenix, thank you very much for coming to the studio today. I appreciate that. Why don't you go outside and play with your brother and sister, and I will be in for our electronics time, okay?
Okay.
Love you.
Bye.
All right, folks, that was my youngest son, Phoenix Coryell. Awesome, awesome kid. He loves guns. He's just fascinated with guns, and I have to give him direction from time to time. But I'm teaching him all about it, and he's going to be a safe, responsible gun owner when he grows up. What do we have on the show today? In segment 2, we are going to be speaking with Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection. We're going to be talking about the topic of dog attacks. There's a lot of things that are happening out there, especially in big cities. Dogs are attacking children mostly, and even killing them in some cases. So we're going to speak with defense attorney Terry Johnson about what your rights are, what happens when your children are attacked by dogs, what can you do about it, what are the legal ramifications as well. And then in segment 3, we've had a lot of people ask about protecting themselves legally in case they have to use deadly force. So Terry will stick into the 3rd segment with us, and we'll be asking him all kinds of questions about firearms legal protection. How does it work? How much does it cost? What are the benefits? All of those things. So you want to make sure you catch that in the 3rd segment. But for right now, we are going to delve very deeply down inside the recesses, the chasms, the shadows, into the darkness that is Skip's brain. What is happening with me? Well, hey, the last 2 days I've been on the range teaching. I had a church safety team yesterday. We did about 8.5 hours of training yesterday. We did 4 hours inside in the classroom and then 4 hours outside on the range, through a lot of lead down range. And this was a special safety team because it's the church safety team of which I'm a member. So we bonded as a team, got a lot of things straight. We're all on the same page. Great fun. Today, I had a private lesson that I gave some advanced training to 2 people. So, hey, a shout out to Heidi and to Eric. You guys were great today, and I had a lot of fun teaching you. So that was fun as well. We've been canning food, obviously. This is the canning season. Tomorrow, we will be canning squash and tomatoes. There's just so much to do and so little time. But, hey, plenty of time to sleep after I die, right? Okay, that's enough for my personal life. Now let's move right on to what is in the news. If you go to Drudge or Fox or wherever it is you get your news, you're going to see all kinds of bizarre things happening all over the world. You've got the whole world going to hell in a handbasket. You've got, Barcelona, Spain, 14 dead, over 100 injured by a terrorist white van attack. It seems like it seems like the internal combustion engine is becoming the biggest enemy of mankind right now, not from pollution, but from impact. 14 dead, over 100 wounded, and ISIS has claimed responsibility. That is huge. And then you have Charlottesville, a similar thing that happened in Charlottesville. A lot of people hurt there as well. And then all over America, you've got people tearing down statues and monuments. My opinion on that, folks, is it's going to get worse before it gets better. I say leave the monuments up. Don't try to rewrite our history. Slavery was a very ugly part of American history. And quite frankly, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. So leave the monuments up. Teach it in school. Teach about the evils of slavery, but also teach how we corrected that and how many lives it took to correct that mistake, that heinous sin. Now, let's go to bearingarms.com, and we're going to be talking about the state of Oregon, where my wife grew up. Oregon just established extreme risk protection orders. Now, everyone knows what a restraining order is, a personal protection order is. Oregon just kind of upped the ante on that, and they're doing it one better. They're saying extreme risk protection orders. Under the new law, known as SB 719, police or a member of a person's family or household can file a petition with a civil court requesting an extreme risk protection order. If the judge finds the person in question to be an imminent risk to themselves or others, an extreme risk protection order will be issued and that person will be forced to surrender their firearms. Police have the right to search the person's home and seize any guns that were not surrendered or stored with a third party, such as a gun dealer. The person has 30 days after the ERPO is issued to request a hearing to keep their firearms. However, if the person is denied and the ERPO stands, then they will then be banned from possessing or buying any firearms or ammo for 1 year. Of course, these orders can also be extended or renewed. Unsurprisingly, the bill was passed along party lines. Only one Republican voted in favor of the legislation. Well, the state of Oregon is quickly becoming an extension of California. It's like the northern province of California. A lot of people moving from California to Oregon. On the west side of Oregon, over by the coast, by Portland, it's pretty liberal, fairly anti-gun. You go to the eastern half of the state where it's dry and arid, it's fairly conservative. One thing that I've learned is that anti-gunners, they love the best climates, they love the mountains, they love the ocean. They seem to go in there and infest all the most beautiful country and the most wonderful climates, and then they establish it, colonize it, and keep it for themselves. I don't like that. Here I sit in Michigan. Regardless, it is what it is. What do I see happening with these extreme risk protection orders? I see a danger there. A lot of it depends on the implementation. Is this going to be abused? I've noticed with personal protection orders, there's a realistic threat of it being abused. For example, anytime there's a custody battle, one lawyer can say to his client, hey, listen, we need a leg up on this custody battle or we're not going to win. So you need to get a personal protection order out against your husband or your wife. And it seems like it's almost, standard policy now to try and take away the other person's guns and get it on court record that, hey, you are a danger to yourself and society. The police or anyone in your family, does anyone have anyone in their family who doesn't like you? Or do you have an anti-gunner in your family that you've been battling with for years? Well, in the state of Oregon, now they can file a petition to have your gun rights removed. I don't think this is a good idea. I really, really don't, but we will watch it, keep an open mind, and see what happens with it. What else do we have? Here's a headline. Fewer and fewer people are applying for concealed carry permits in this state. This is from bearingarms.com. Guess what the state is? According to Illinois State Police, the first year the law was implemented, 103,797 applications were filed. The following year, only 60,270 residents applied. Why is that? Well, they say that first year, many Illinois residents who were excited about the new legislation likely rushed to file their applications as soon as the law went into effect. After that, it kind of went down. My opinion on that is the state of Illinois has such a strict concealed carry law. There are so many pistol-free zones. Wow. They make it really hard for you to get your permit, and then there's not a whole lot of places you can carry once you do get your permit. So there's not as much incentive. Now, it's interesting to note that right here in my home state of Michigan, for the first time in 17 years, the number of permits in Michigan went down. For the first time in 17 years. What do they attribute that to? Well, they attribute it to the Trump presidency, for one thing. They also attribute it to the slow summer months, but we have summer every year, so I don't think it can be that. And they also attribute it to the constitutional carry bill that was passed in the House a couple of months ago. They're saying people are just waiting to see if that bill passes into law, and if it passes into law, they won't have to train. You know my opinion on that. I think it's our right to carry a gun, but it's also our responsibility to get trained and know how to use it if you're going to carry it. Just my opinion. Okay, that's about all we have time for in the news. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection, all about dog attacks. What can you do about it? How should you handle it legally? So don't go anywhere. During the break, go online and do a search on dog attacks in the United States and find out a little bit of background, because it's really quite amazing. Did you know that according to the Centers for Disease Control, pit bulls are by far the most dangerous breed, causing more than 300 deaths between 1982 and 2015. And most of those attacks are against children. So you're going to want to hear this next segment, all about the legal use of deadly force against dogs. All right, this is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
My name is Skip Coryell. Welcome to the Home Defense Show with my dad, Skip Coryell. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or visit elitefirearms.us. This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want to talk to you about keeping your kids safe around guns. I've never been a big fan of trigger locks, but I have to tell you, I have found a product called Child Safe One. It's a trigger blocker, not a trigger lock, and it works fantastic. I tried it out on my kids, and they could not get the Child Safe One off the training gun. I gave them 5 minutes. I sat there and I watched them, and they couldn't do it. Folks, I am satisfied, more than satisfied, that my kids are safe around Child Safe One. Here's the good thing about it. I can get that lock off the gun in under 2 seconds, but my kids can't even figure out how it works. Child Safe One is a win-win for everyone in the family. My wife's happy because she knows the guns are secure. My kids are happy because they're safe. And I'm happy because when the wolf comes a knocking, I've got that gun cocked, locked, and ready to rock in less than 2 seconds. So go to globalgunsafety.com and get Child Safe One today. That's globalgunsafety.com. Check it out now and tell them the Home Defense Show sent you. All right, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell, and I have with me this segment, Terry Johnson, defense attorney from Firearms Legal Protection from the Detroit area. Terry, welcome to the Home Defense Show.
Thank you very much, Skip. Always a pleasure to talk to you and your audience.
All right, fantastic. Terry, I've been doing some research lately about the aspect of home and personal defense that has to do with aggressive dogs. I mean, there are some aggressive breeds out there, and we'll hear about it in the news from time to time. And I want my listeners to get a better idea about what they can do, what they can get away with as far as defending against aggressive dogs. When a dog attacks, what can they do? What can they not do?
Skip, that's a great question and a huge topic that's going around. What people have to understand, you have to always go back to the basic question, when can I use lethal force in my state? Most states have similar laws that revolve around that when I use lethal force, I have to be in imminent fear of death, great bodily harm, or criminal sexual assault. And in this case, if I am in imminent fear of death or great bodily harm from a dog, at that point, yes, I can use lethal force to protect myself from that dog. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make is the imminent part as it relates to that. You know, they'll see a dog in their yard, the dog is just kind of sitting there, and people say, well, it's on my property, it shouldn't be here, and I'm just going to shoot it. Mm-hmm. That's going to cause you lots of problems as well by doing that.
Well, there's another question. I've spoken with some law enforcement officers about the legality of shooting a dog, and I know you have to be careful when you can line up 10 police officers. You can ask them all the same legal question, and you might get 5 or 6 different answers, just because the law is so huge. But I asked them, what about if the dog is killing my chickens, or it's trying to bite my cow, or chasing my goats or something like that? They told me that in the state of Michigan, you can go ahead and shoot that dog to protect your livestock. What's the story on that?
Well, like you said, it's kind of interesting. You can't protect property with lethal force against another human being. So let's start with that. And obviously, dogs, and this is no offense to any of your listeners who have a family pet, they treat it like part of the family, but under the law, a dog is not a human. A dog is a pet. It's property. And yes, under those scenarios, you probably can do that. It just depends. But here's the thing you've got to be careful of. As you well know, if I shoot my neighbor's dog and that dog is wounded, he dies or something along those lines, I'm going to have civil liabilities as well. We just can't go out and shoot other people's property. And by doing so, you get sued. It could cost you lots of money. If the dog is injured, it can cost you the vet bills, et cetera, et cetera.
If a dog comes on my property and it's chasing after my chickens and I shoot it, and the neighbor turns around and sues me for that, for emotional distress or whatever, because they're viewing it as a human when it's really a dog. Call me a redneck, but I'm just a country bumpkin. Someone starts chasing my chickens around, killing my chickens. I'm putting that bad boy down. I mean, that's just. I guess I'll need a good lawyer in a case like that.
I know a good lawyer that can help you.
Okay.
Here's the thing, Skip, that I think we got to be on the page with. If a dog enters your property, or any animal, and again, a lot of this is going to depend on where you are. In the city I live in, if I were to shoot a dog, first thing I would be charged with would be discharging a firearm within city limits. If you live out in the country, that probably doesn't apply to you, but where I'm at, it does apply. The other thing you've got to be careful of, again, is let me ask this question. What if I parked my car on your driveway and you shot my car up? Would that be different than shooting a dog? And I'm going to answer that by saying no, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's property. You've basically damaged my property. You've shot my property. If it's a car, you have to, let's say you shot the windows out. Well, I've got to replace the windows. I may have to have it towed. I may have to have it, cleaned out, whatever the situation is. Whatever I've done as it relates to that. Now, the other thing you got to keep in mind, what have you put in place to make sure that dog doesn't come on your property? Have you put a fence around your property? Have you talked to the owners of the dog to say, hey, your dog's coming over here, he's causing me problems? Mm-hmm. There are other remedies to take care of that. What have you done to mitigate the circumstances? So
if you've called the police 3 times, with a complaint about the dog coming on your property, growling at your children, or they killed one of your animals or something, you have that documented in the form of police reports, that might give you a little more recourse and a little more legal protection.
That is correct.
I get frustrated sometimes dealing with certain types of people. They treat their animals like they're human, and they'll call them their babies, and they'll kiss them and hug them and put clothing on them and all that stuff. And then they'll go ahead and attack one of your children, and then you shoot them, and it's like, oh my gosh, the world just ended, and things get really nasty at that point. But Terry, I'm going to read you a real life story here, something that actually happened, and then this particular case happened in Virginia, but let's assume that it happened here in Michigan, and you just tell me, yes or no, would this woman have been legally justified in using deadly force? A mother and her 7-year-old son were out collecting trash for the boys' Cub Scout project when 2 pit bulls started menacing them along the road. To protect her son, the woman told the child to go home. Although the boy screamed as the dogs charged, his yelling did not scare off the animals. They lunged at the woman, dragged her into a ditch, and tore at her body, causing severe injury. The woman's landlord, a concealed carry permit holder, happened by and saw the attack. In a letter, he said he fired his gun, sending one of the canines scurrying off, then shot again at the one that stayed behind and was still attacking the woman. A friend of the woman arrived and administered first aid until the medics arrived. The woman was flown to a Richmond hospital with severe injuries, while her son suffered only a small scratch. County officials have since initiated legal proceedings to have the dogs euthanized. Just the facts of that case, what you know in Michigan, what's going to happen to that concealed carry holder?
He should have no issues whatsoever. The reason I say that is he was protecting life. He was protecting someone else. And this person that he was protecting, it was obviously in it because that dog was already in the action of attacking this person. And it was great bodily harm because, the breed of the dog, the fact that it had pulled this woman against her will somewhere, and it was biting her. I'm not sure if you said, what it was doing to her other than biting her, ripping her apart. But under Michigan law, he would be fined because he was protecting another life.
Okay. Yeah. He had the dog latched onto her and drug her down into the ditch. So, yeah, I guess serious bodily injury, you get, ripped open by a dog, that's going to need sutures, and by definition, that's serious bodily injury. Okay.
Absolutely. And the other, well, let me just say one other thing. The other thing is, now if the guy was just driving by and the dog hadn't done anything, but the dog was just kind of standing there, they were kind of feet apart, the concealed pistol holder decided to shoot that dog at that point, that might be something different because, again, at that point, the dog was not an imminent threat to the young lady.
Yeah, well, you got to be so careful when you walk into someone else's life because you really don't know what happened the 5 minutes before or what the situation really is. So you can inject yourself into someone else's business and end up getting yourself in trouble simply because you don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, Terry, thank you very much for shedding light on the whole issue of, aggressive dogs, attacking, and use of deadly force. We appreciate that. We'd like to keep you around for another segment. And when you come back, Terry, we would like you to speak about firearms legal protection specifically. Tell us about what it is and what it covers and all of those things so that our listeners can take advantage of that. This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
This is Phoenix Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Always use guns safely and wisely. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want to talk to you about keeping your kids safe around guns. I've never been a big fan of trigger locks, but I have to tell you, I have found a product called Child Safe One. It's a trigger blocker, not a trigger lock, and it works fantastic. I tried it out on my kids, and they could not get the Child Safe One off the training gun. I gave them 5 minutes. I sat there and I watched them, and they couldn't do it. Folks, I am satisfied, more than satisfied, that my kids are safe around Child Safe One. Here's the good thing about it. I can get that lock off the gun in under 2 seconds, but my kids can't even figure out how it works. Child Safe One is a win-win for everyone in the family. My wife's happy because she knows the guns are secure. My kids are happy because they're safe. And I'm happy because when the wolf comes a-knocking, I've got that gun cocked, locked, and ready to rock in less than 2 seconds. So go to globalgunsafety.com and get Child Safe One today. That's globalgunsafety.com. Check it out now and tell them the Home Defense Show sent you.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if life was like the movies and the good guys always won? In today's world, if you're forced to use your firearm to protect yourself, you will need protection. Firearms Legal Protection is here for you. FLP provides you with seasoned, experienced attorneys that handle your criminal and civil matters as a result of you protecting yourself. FirearmsLegal.com provides its members with uncapped attorney's fees, bail bond protection, and coverage in all 50 states. We are not a reimbursement plan. You can access uncapped attorney's fees for as low as $10 a month. Firearms Legal members are provided with educational services, training videos, and access to our vast national attorney network. While you're protecting yourself, let Firearms Legal protect you.
Listen up, folks. This is important. There are plenty of legal protection services out there, but none will protect you as well as Firearms Legal Protection. This is the one I use and the only one I recommend. Visit firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical and protect your family now. All right, folks, this is Skip Coryell. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show. We are speaking with Terry Johnson, defense attorney. He is with Firearms Legal Protection. And so many of my listeners and my concealed carry students, they want to get some type of legal protection because their big concern is, well, what happens if I have to shoot somebody? Am I going to go to jail? Am I going to go to prison? How can I protect myself, my freedom, my assets? Is there anything that can be done for me? And I think the answer is yes. Terry, break it down for us. What exactly can Firearms Legal Protection do for the average gun owner?
Well, the first thing and most important thing is protect you legally. If you ever have to shoot someone or use your firearm in self-defense or defense of others, you're going to need legal assistance. And imagine this, it's nighttime, something happens, you say, hey, I already know a lawyer, I'm good to go. What if that lawyer's out of town? What's your backup plan? Most people feel that in case in the situation where they would have to use lethal force, the police are going to show up to the house, and we as homeowners are going to have on the shirt that says good guy, and the bad guy laying on the floor is going to have on a shirt that says bad guy, and the police are going to come in and say, oh, my God, thanks you. We've been looking for this guy. Great job. Go back to sleep. We'll remove the body. We'll talk to you later.
That would be so great.
That's not how it works.
Okay.
It would be wonderful. It would be wonderful. But unfortunately, the legal process is going to start. And the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to be questioned by the police. Firearms Legal does a few things. The first thing is we're the only company that when you call us, an attorney answers the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The great benefit of that is talking to an attorney gives you A, legal advice right away, and B, attorney-client privilege. So no matter what you say, as opposed to calling 911 or an answering machine or something else, we can never repeat what you told us because it's attorney-client privilege. Mm-hmm. Once we talk to you, we send an attorney out to you no matter where you are in the country. We've got over 2,500 attorneys ready and willing to go. All of our attorneys have a minimum of 5 years of practice. We never want to send any of our members with someone who's never tried a criminal case, never tried a capital case. We don't want them practicing on our members. We get the best attorneys in the area, and here's the great part. Our attorneys get to you within a couple of hours after a shooting. And this is the part I love. Firearms Legal Protection pays all the attorney's fees. It's not reimbursement. You don't have to come out of your pocket for anything. The attorney's fees are uncapped. So if a case is $50,000, Firearms Legal pays the attorney $50,000. If it's $100,000, we pay $100,000. If it's $1 million, Firearms Legal pays that attorney $1 million. Notice I said Firearms Legal pays because the good thing, Skip, is it's not one of those situations where we give a little up front, and if you're found not guilty, we'll pay the rest. We pay all the way through. We're the only ones out there that do that. The other great things that we do, we also provide bail bond up to $250,000. We provide a confiscation payment if they take your firearm, because we all know what happens after you shoot somebody. What are they going to do to your gun, Skip?
Well, they take it away.
That's right, and they're probably going to take it indefinitely. If you don't get that firearm back in 1 year, we give you up to $1,000 towards that firearm. We've recently added other benefits for our members, such as incident scene cleanup, where we come out and clean up the crime scene after the police release it, because as you know, if there's blood there on the scene, that becomes a toxic situation. Mm-hmm. It's hazmat. We need to send someone out to take care of that, even if it's a little spot, because think about it. We can't clean it up with paper towel and Windex and hope it goes away. That becomes airborne, and you or your loved ones could get sick from that. So that's part of our plan. We also have psychological counseling where you may want to talk to someone after a traumatic event. We provide counseling for that, lost wage benefits, so many other things that we provide. And the good thing about it, Skip, it's extremely inexpensive. You can be a member of Firearms Legal for as low as $9.95 a month, and that gets you uncapped criminal and civil, because, again, if you get sued, you're going to need an attorney as well, but that's going to provide you with uncapped criminal and uncapped civil attorneys in your home state for as low as $9.95 a month.
Wow.
It's the best thing on the market.
What happens if I have to defend myself using deadly force, but it's not a firearm? Will I still be covered?
Absolutely. Firearms Legal is not just there for firearms only. Firearms Legal will cover you as long as whatever weapon you pick up is legal. Let me give you an example. If you use a baseball bat to defend yourself and that's legal in your state, we'll cover you. If you use a knife and that's legal in your state, we'll cover you. If you use a frying pan, we'll cover you. What about brass knuckles? Well, in most states, brass knuckles are illegal, so we won't cover you there.
Okay.
The only thing we truly don't cover is hands and feet. And I always get the question, well, why not? Well, then we'd be in every bar fight that ever existed.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's one area that we don't cover. But for the most part, any use of legal lethal force will cover you, and that's all part of that $9.95 package. And let me tell you this, Skip. You can be covered in all 50 states, you and your kids, you, your wife, your kids, for $34.95. And if you buy annually, we even give you a little discount on there as well. But the great thing, Skip, you can have one kid or you can have 10 kids. As long as they're 18 or under, we'll cover them. One price for one family.
You know, one of the things that I like most about that really appeals to me, is the concept that when I get in trouble, I've had to shoot someone, I'm waiting for the police to come, I can pull out my cell phone, I can call the number that you guys gave me, and I can talk right away. And, you know, the lawyer can tell me, okay, here's what you say, here's what you don't say, and I'm on my way right now, and I'll meet you there. You know, I know a lot of people, you'll ask them, say, well, do you have a lawyer just in case? And they'll say, oh, yeah. But the problem there is they'll call on a Friday night at midnight, they'll get the office, and it's on an answering machine, so they're sitting in jail for 2 days, and I'm guessing it's not in a nice, comfortable waiting room, you know, with a television and padded seats. I really love that concept of being able to get a hold of the attorney right away, and to me, that's worth a lot of money to me.
Skip, here's the thing that people truly don't understand. They've got an attorney, but just like you said, what if that attorney's not around? You used the example of a couple of days. Well, what if that attorney's gone for a week on vacation?
Okay.
Or he gets sick? What's your backup? And here's the other part. Have you put money away with that attorney? Because as an attorney myself, I've had to have those painful conversations when I get a spouse who's calling me who's upset saying, oh, my God, my spouse is in jail, and they said he just shot someone, and you're an attorney, I need your help. And guess what? After I listen to some facts, you know what I have to go into, Skip?
What's that?
I got to talk about money.
Yeah.
I got to talk about money. Most people don't have $40,000 or $50,000 that they put aside in a fund called just in case I shoot someone. The great thing with us is you can pay annually or monthly, and as low as $9.95, you never have to worry about that again.
Another question I have, Terry, is if I have to use deadly force, you know, I made a judgment call, maybe it's a gray call. It's like it's not cut and dried, it's not black and white. Do I have to prove or convince you that I was sincere, that I really didn't break the law? What is the hurdle that I have to clear with you guys to get you to cover my case?
It's very simple. As long as you are defending yourself or defending others, we cover you. We cover you all the way till we find out something different. Let me give you an example. If you say, hey, I went into 7-Eleven and these people, they're getting ready to rob somebody, I pulled out my gun, I shot someone. We're going to defend you, but if a tape comes out eventually showing that you walked in with a ski mask and you were trying to rob the place, obviously in the commission of a crime, well, we're not going to defend you anymore at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a board of directors that this has to go in front of. The attorney answers. We dispatch an attorney right away, and our purpose behind that is making sure our members are covered.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you I've been on the hotline a few times before, and some of the calls that come are a little weird, but the first thing we want to make sure is that we cover our members.
Terry, we have a couple minutes left. There's always this debate going back and forth. When you have to use deadly force to protect yourself, you call 911 and you're talking to the dispatcher. First, what do you tell the dispatcher? And second, when the police respond, what do you tell them? Do you tell them everything? Do you tell them a little? Do you tell them a lot? How does that work?
What I always advise people, and you know this as an instructor, one of the things that you never want a student to do is take the class and never pick a gun up again. Mm-hmm. You want your students to hone those skills by going to the range, by working on sight alignment, sight picture, their stance, the whole 9 yards. I always advise people to practice calling 911, kind of like dry fire. Don't dial 911 and say, hey, I'm just practicing. But you just kind of, on your phone, you know, without dialing any numbers, pick up the phone. And what you really want to say is this: there's been a shooting, and give the address. You never want to say, I shot. You never want to get into saying things like somebody broke in. You don't want to say there was a fight. All you want to do is give them the minimum amount of information, and then skip, hang up. Mm-hmm. The reason I give that advice is I've seen too many clients who've been too excited say things to 911 that's been used against them later on in court. And it's caused them to be convicted because they can't get over that hurdle at the time of saying things like, well, I wasn't afraid of the guy, you know, I just blew his head off. Those are things you never want to say. Strongly advise people to practice that, you know, 911, and you say, there's been a shooting at 123 Main, and hang the phone up. As far as the police, the main thing you want to say to them is, I've called my attorney. I'm not going to make any statements till my attorney gets there. Okay. And again, if you're an FLP member, your attorney will be there shortly, and you know that someone competent is on the way.
Okay, Terry, thank you very much for enlightening us with all that good free legal advice. Before you go, though, tell people how they can find out more about Firearms Legal Protection.
Go to a website, firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical. Everything you need to know about us is right there. And here's another thing, Skip. They can sign up right then and there, and they're a member the moment they hit enter.
All right. Hey, fantastic. That sounds like a great deal, Terry. Terry, of course, we will have you on again. You are our go-to guy for all questions legal and use of deadly force. So, Terry, thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show.
Skip, thank you. Always a pleasure. And to all your listeners, stay safe, carry safe, and be safe.
All right. Okay, folks, we're going to be gone here for a couple of minutes. While I am gone, go ahead and go on the internet, firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical. Check it out. And when you come back, we will have the wrap-up, and I will tell you my opinion, all things Skip Coryell. This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Welcome to my dad's Home Defense Radio show. You're gonna love it.
Hey, folks. This is Skip Coryell, host of the Home Defense Show. I want to tell you about my book, Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book. More and more people across the country are seeing the dangers in society and deciding to carry concealed to protect themselves and their families. My new book lays it out step by step. It'll teach you how to protect and defend the ones you love. Get the benefit of 17 years of teaching experience and a lifetime of training for this important role in society and in your family. You can get Civilian Combat real easy. Just go to Amazon.com, search on Skip Coryell Civilian Combat. It'll pop right up there. Don't put it off any longer. Get Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book, by yours truly, Skip Coryell. This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or visit elitefirearms.us. All right, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. That was great with Terry Johnson. It always is, from Firearms Legal Protection. That guy does a great job, and he really knows his stuff. All right, the sound that you are about to hear is one of my favorite sounds in the entire world. Listen to this and tell me what you think it is. Oh yeah. That, my friends, is the joyous sound of an ice-cold Mountain Dew in a 12-ounce can being opened. Now here's the sound of me drinking it. Oh wow. Yeah, that is good. Sorry. No, that's good stuff. I only drink one a day, but man, I gotta tell you, it's heaven. What's inside a Mountain Dew? I don't know. It's probably a lot like a liquid carbonated Twinkie. I'm sure it's not good for me, but I'm gonna drink it anyways. All right, dog attacks. Oh man, we could talk about dogs for a long time. It was good talking to Terry about that, to get his legal opinion on it. But, you know, obviously I have my own opinion, and it's not scientific. It's based on my experience. Experience counts a lot for me. And in my experience, boy, I am not a dog person. I really, really am not a dog person. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. I can just take them or leave them. I really can. My wife, on the other hand, oh gosh, Sarah loves dogs. We've had dogs for probably at least half of our 13 years of marriage. When we don't have a dog, she's begging to get a dog. When we do have a dog, she treats them like people. And you can't do that with dogs. They're pack animals. You have to teach them who the boss is. They have to mind. It's just the way that it is. That's a reality of having a dog. We have a friend of ours who was recently attacked by a dog and bitten 250 times. This was a child. Bitten 250 times and is in critical condition at the hospital. And they'll have to be, you know, like reconstructive surgery and all kinds of things like that. I hear that story too much to have my own large dog around. And quite frankly, that's a shame, because I wouldn't mind having a large dog around the house for protection to help me out with security. But the problem is, I know that my life is way too busy already. And I realize that if you're going to have a large dog, you have to keep that dog under control. You have to train it. You have to spend time with it. And it's almost like they're a part of the family. They're living with you. You set boundaries, set up a place for them to eat, to sleep. You have to take them outside. They're just all of those things. And I don't have time for that. And my wife, she doesn't have the time for that either. But plus, she doesn't have the strength of personality to dominate a really large dog. So if that's going to happen, it has to be me. And I don't have time. I don't have time, and I don't have the motivation. Early in life, I was discouraged from having dogs simply because when I was about, 11, 12 years old, we had a dog, a Brittany Spaniel. My brother and I both had a Brittany Spaniel. One was named Speedy, and the other one was named Romer. And they were beautiful dogs, friendly. We loved them. We had to keep them on a chain because they would just run away, but we would go out and play with them. And there was a friend of the family, an adult man, who would come over and tease our dogs at the end of the chain. He'd step to the end of the chain and he would tease them. And then one day he got too close and one of the dogs snapped at him. Didn't bite him, just snapped at him. He told my father. My father came to me, handed me a .22 single-shot rifle and said, "Son, we can't have a dog that bites. You get out there and take care of it. And it was wintertime in the snow. And I didn't know how to shoot a dog. I was just a kid. And so I shot at the heart thinking that would kill it. It didn't. I had to shoot 6 times to kill that dog, which to me was my friend. And there was red blood all over the white snow. And my little brother, who was even younger than me, had to do the same thing. That soured me on dogs. I never looked at dogs the same way after that. Quite frankly, I never looked at my father the same way after that either. But, hey, sad story, but that's the way that it is. Getting back to something less emotional, let's talk about the stats on dogs. Which breeds are the most dangerous? I looked it up, several different articles about it, and none of them really agree, but there are several names that keep coming up over and over again. And according to this is Petalog.com, the top most dangerous dogs in the world. Number 1, the American Pit Bull Terrier. It's a combative breed which is capable of killing almost any enemy. Incorrect upbringing of this dog is suicidal both for passers-by and owners themselves. Be careful. I have friends with pit bulls, and they say, oh, they're just so sweet, they're so loving. That's true most of the time. The problem with the pit bull is they were bred to be fighters. It's bred into them. And they're big dogs, extremely strong jaws and teeth. When they latch onto you, they don't let go. I watched a video on YouTube. A man in Brazil, he must have been about 65, 70 years old. He's sitting down on the cement, and there is a pit bull attached to his right arm, right about at the wrist. And there's blood all over the place. This pit bull would not let go. The entire time, this is a 5-minute video, the entire time he was attached to this man's arm, his tail is wagging. It's like the dog wasn't upset. He was just doing what came naturally to him. The saddest part was that all the people that were standing around watching and filming it for Facebook and YouTube, the man died. Finally, a police officer came and shot the dog, but the old man still died. He should have pistol whipped all the people standing around filming it, because that's just not human to do something like that. In a case like that, I don't care if you have a gun or not. You pick up a fence post, you break the dog's back, you hit him on the head, you kill him, you do whatever you have to do to save the poor old man. Human lives are more important than dog lives. That's just the way it is. All right, what's number 2? Rottweiler. Rottweilers are considered to be one of the most dangerous breeds. Devoted and obedient to its owner, a great guardian. The only chance to survive when attacked by a Rottweiler is to be passive. Well, actually, that's not true. When you're attacked by a Rottweiler, you pull out your gun and you shoot them. Okay, the comments are, basically, I've got no complaints to this part since this dog is really notable for very loyal nature and gentle attitude to the family children, although it can't take a joke and doesn't like strangers. Normally, the Rottweiler won't become dangerous for special people, but outsiders, including unfamiliar kids, are quite a different story. So a great protector, but don't let the dog be around other people. Don't invite anyone into your home. Number 3 is a German Shepherd. It's an intelligent breed. That is exactly why it's trained to search and catch criminals. If a dog isn't stopped on time or an offender continues to resist, a German Shepherd, as a law enforcer, will turn to a cruel killer. Of course, the German Shepherd is used by the police force, but before they start to serve there, puppies undergo obedience training. I think the moral of this story is, if you're going to have a large dog, you better take responsibility for that dog. It's just like having a gun. You don't buy a gun and then not learn how to use it. You don't buy a gun and then load it and put it under your pillow. You properly store that. It's the same with an animal. You have to train that dog, let it know who the boss is, and have it under control. You have to do that. If you don't, somebody's going to get hurt. All right, how do you know if a dog is going to attack you? Well, you never know for sure, but there are some general signs of aggression in dogs that can help you figure it out. Number one is growling, snarling, and baring teeth. That always gets my attention. Number two, showing the whites of the eyes by an angry dog. 3, pulled back ears that are laying flat against the head. Number 4, straight, tense, and stiff body of the dog. You know, folks, no one wants to have to shoot a dog, but sometimes you have to do it to save, innocent human life. I guess what I recommend is avoidance is a big deal. Avoid dogs that you know to be aggressive. If you're going to be walking around the block and you know there's a dog that you have to pass by every day that acts aggressively, you better pick a different route. Just avoid it. You can carry pepper gel as a non-lethal option. Pepper gel rather than pepper spray. The spray can blow back at you, bounce off the dog, hit you. Pepper gel will hit and stick, which is a good idea. If you have to shoot the dog to defend your life, make sure the bullet doesn't strike another person. Know what's in the background. Know your target and what is beyond. For me personally, I would not hesitate to shoot a dog if it was attacking my children. I mean, that's just the way that it is. My kids get first billing, their first priority. It's my job to protect them, whether it's against a human or a dog or a rabid raccoon. I don't care what it is. Anyone comes after my kids, they get what they deserve. Remember, in general, before you can shoot that dog, you have to be in imminent, immediate danger of death or serious bodily injury. So that's the same standard as taking a human life. Terry talked about them being property, which is true. In some states, you can put down a dog for chasing your livestock. But know the jurisdiction. You better figure that out ahead of time. Find out what the laws are in your state before you do anything like that. And go ahead and try and work with your neighbor. It's always good to have a good rapport with your neighbor. If the dog gets out, it's on your property, go ahead and call the neighbor or go over there in person and be happy. Smile. A kind word is always the best form of self-defense. Keep that rapport with your neighbor up so that he wants to control his dogs and he wants to keep a good rapport with you. Well, folks, we are just about out of time for this week's show. Next week, we are going to have a special guest. His name is Patrick Bisher. He is a retired Navy SEAL. This guy is fascinating. I'm almost done reading his book. It's called No Surrender. And you can go to Amazon.com, Patrick Bisher, Bisher, search on No Surrender. You can get it on Kindle or whatever. The guy has an awesome story. At the age of 9 years old, he came down with a rare bone disease in his hip. And the doctors told him at age 9, you will never walk again. This guy didn't accept that. He fought for years and years and years and years to get himself healthy. Finally, he was able to become a United States Navy SEAL. Awesome, awesome story. Patrick's going to be speaking with us about warrior mindset. This guy knows how to fight back and how to never, ever give up. So you're going to love next week's show with Patrick Bisher. Remember our advertisers, Firearms Legal Protection. You heard all about them today. Firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical. Elite Firearms, Larry Jackson. You need a gun, he's got them, and he will fit you personally so you won't waste money on the wrong gun. You get the right gun right out of the box. Child Safe One. Go to globalgunsafety.com. Keep your kids safe from guns. Lock them up using Child Safe One. We'll be back next week, but until then, remember your purpose in life is to find something greater than yourself and serve it. Always remember God, family, country in that order. It's important how you live, but it's equally important how you die. Your family and the ones you love need your protection, so train, always train, stay alert, stay alive. Until next week on the Home Defense Show, this is your host, Skip Coryell. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless America.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best in home defense.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!